Got me reminiscing back to when days were great. Got me wishing it was 1988.
Got me reminiscing back to when times were great. Got me wishing it was 1988.
What's up, Limesters, and all my hip-hop heads out there across the planet? I am Scholar, representing JP Lime Productions, and on behalf of my bandmates, Professor and Spaceman, I'd like to welcome you to the July edition of the Rap Flashback, our monthly look into memorable moments and important dates in hip-hop history. Let's get started with a couple of notable debut albums. On July 12, 1999, Ja Rule's debut album, Veni, Vedi, Veci, was certified platinum, a mere 6 weeks after it was initially released. Powered by lead single Holla Holla, Veni was not only Rule's major label debut, it was also the first release put out by Irv Gotti's Murder Inc. Records. For all my classicists out there, because who made the rule that you can't like rap music and Julius Caesar? The album's title alludes to the Latin idiom Veni, Vidi, Vici, meaning I came, I saw, I conquered. And for a while, conquer they did, as Veni helped establish the careers of both Rule and Gotti, cementing them as major players in the game for the remainder of the 90s and into the mid-2000s. Legal troubles and public feuds with major artists such as Eminem and most notably 50 Cent would eventually derail Murder Inc.'s success, and in 2011, Rule would end up in jail for gun possession and tax evasion. But he's out now, and I actually had the pleasure of watching him perform at an old school show not too long ago, headlining a very entertaining night that featured Naughty by Nature as the opening act. It's Rule, baby! The boys still got it. Going back even further in rap's timeline, July 7th, 1987, marked the release of Eric B. and Rakim's debut album, Paid in Full. Smooth, funky, and melodic, Paid in Full is a true staple of the golden age of hip-hop, and its 5 singles, Eric B. is President, I Know You Got Soul, Move the Crowd, Paid in Full, and my personal favorite, I Ain't No Joke, helped the album peak at number 58 on the Billboard 200. This record was instrumental in launching the careers of not only Eric B. as a legendary producer/DJ, but more notably, and that's not a slight to Eric B., Rakim as one of the premier MCs the game has ever seen in any era. As the man himself put it, I ain't no joke. I used to let the mic smoke. Now I slam it when I'm done and make sure it's broke. Late 80s fire that packs just as much punch today as it did back then. Simply put, if you're not up on this record, then you suck at hip-hop.
Yeah, Scholar, Big Daddy Kane ain't no half-stepping.
Big Daddy Kane, what the dude? It's the Rakim segment. Are we still filming?
Yes, we are.
Oh, good grief. No, Prof, you're my bandmate. You can't suck at hip-hop.
I wouldn't say I suck at hip-hop. I mean, we were in the studio the other day. You were really digging my verse when we were...
No. Come on. Cut the film. With debuts out of the way, let's move on to some notable sophomore album releases. Sophomore comes from the root word sophos, meaning wise, and moros, meaning foolish. And no, we're not including that to bombard the flashback with more Latin flavor. My being Puerto Rican alone accomplishes that. But rather, what we're exploring in this segment is that mythical beast, the sophomore slump, as it relates to the following albums. While a debut release is typically the culmination of working through a lifetime's worth of ideas as a rookie to recording, by the time you record a sophomore album, you're hip to the game, but still relatively new to it, thus the notion of a wise fool. As such, once an artist or group gets that initial album out of the way, finding the creative force for another work isn't always as organic as it was the first time around, and that's to say nothing of the rigors of their new schedule. Battles for identity are won and lost in the second album. With that in mind, let's take a look at 4 July sophomore releases that avoided the dreaded sophomore slump, in no small part because its creators relished in the opportunity for new direction and subject matters. First, we'll start with my favorite MC, Nas, and his sophomore album, It Was Written, released on July 2nd, 1996. This case is damn interesting in that of the 4 sophomore albums we'll be discussing today, It Was Written is the only example where the record's commercial success actually hindered the artist's reputation amongst hip-hop purists. Make no mistake about it, this is a fantastic album, and with double platinum sales, it's also Nas's most commercially successful. Powered by production from the Trackmasters and rooted in East Coast gangsterism mafioso motifs, the birth of the Nas Escobar persona, if you will. Standout tracks such as I Gave You Power, where Nas tells the story of the life cycle of a gun, in the first person as the gun, as well as The Message, Street Dreams, and the Lauryn Hill-assisted and Grammy-nominated classic If I Ruled the World, imagine that, showcased Nas's storytelling abilities and top-notch lyricism. Despite these things, some purists argue that It Was Written falls into the sophomore slump category, if only because Nas's first release, Illmatic, is not only his magnum opus, but also one of the top 3, at worst, rap albums ever created. Though It Was Written outsold Illmatic and delivered in its intent as a mafioso record, it only featured one track from Illmatic producer DJ Premier and lacked a lot of the honesty and raw passion that made Illmatic such a phenomenal album. Round these parts, however, we feel that It Was Written took Nas from rap's underground into mainstream stardom, and though not the masterpiece that Illmatic is, it's too good a record to call it a sophomore slump. Now let's just pretend that Nas's fourth, or senior album if you will, Nostradamus, never happened. July 25th, 1989, marks the second album release from the Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique. Known for the extensive sound experimentation from the producer duo The Dust Brothers, the album would be a landmark in the evolution of the way we think about sampling, both legally and artistically. The group's first album, Licensed to Ill, resulted in both huge successes, such as Group headlining a world tour and the record being the first rap LP to top the Billboard 200, and widespread controversy, including arrests, lawsuits, and accusations of inciting crowds to riot. The Beastie Boys split from Def Jam and Rick Rubin. With this new freedom, the threesome decided to dig deeper and emerged with a critically acclaimed masterpiece that initially suffered commercially, mainly because it was so different than what many expected to hear on the heels of Licensed to Ill, but would eventually go double platinum a decade later. No way this album qualifies as a sophomore slump for the Beastie Boys. On July 20th, 1993, Cypress Hill released their sophomore effort, Black Sunday. In the early 90s, Cypress Hill dominated a corner of hip-hop, carving out a truly unique identity with both a heavy Chicano influence and weed lifestyle. That said, powered by the smash hit Insane in the Brain, Black Sunday would debut at number 1 on the Billboard 200, and because their self-titled debut was still charting at the time, Cypress Hill became the first rap group to have 2 albums in the top 10 of the Billboard 200 at the same time. From the opening, slow, haunting sounds of I Wanna Get High, through Hits from the Bong, to the violent end triumvirate of A to the K, Hands on the Glock, and Break 'Em Off Some. Cypress Hill's second album never doubts itself, crafting an identity ahead of its time that would find an audience in fans of Sublime and their later reggae rap descendants. Oh yeah, and it went triple platinum.
So what do you think, Scholar? Sophomore slump?
Nope, no way. Despite all those hits from the bong, no slump.
I'll smoke to that.
Speaking of weed heads, Bone Thugs and Harmony released their sophomore record, East 1999 Eternal, on July 25th, 1995. Building on the success of their 1994 debut EP, Creepin' on a Come Up, East 1999 Eternal brought that melodic and harmonizing double-time rap flow to the masses. Powered by lead single First of the Month and the wildly successful Grammy-winning eulogy track The Crossroads, the album would earn a Grammy nod for Best Rap Album and achieve 5 times platinum status. Simply put, I loved this album from the moment I first heard it, and First of the Month is one of the songs that I still play often today. I remember being in high school and walking towards the bus stop at Day's End with a bunch of my boys, rapping the lyrics to First of the Month as best I could, with my buddies going crazy because I could kind of pick up what they were saying. Something like, homie, the first get celebrated, rushing to the block cause I want to get faded, looking all wild cause I'm living me Brady.
Cause I miss my Uncle Charles, y'all.
That's Crossroads, homie.
Yeah, my bad.
Boom, 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 boom. And we'll close out the segment by wishing a happy birthday to the following July hip-hop babies. Missy Elliott, born July 1st, 1971. Bizarre of D12 fame and the late Mac Dre were both born on July 5th in 1970 and 1976, respectively. Wu-Tang members RZA and Inspector Deck were born on July 5th, 1969 and July 6th, 1970. Slaughterhouse MC Royce da 5'9", July 5th, 1979, and groupmate Joel Ortiz, July 6th, 1980. Mr. Animal Ambition himself, 50 Cent, was also born on July 6th, 1975. The Queen Bee, Lil' Kim, was born July 11th, 1975. The late, great Gangstar MC Guru was born July 17th, 1961. Big ups, Boston. And lastly, the legendary Kool G Rap was born on July 20th, 1968. That wraps up our July edition of the Rap Flashback. As always, we welcome you to visit jplimeproductions.com for all things hip-hop and all things lime, and we'll be back next month to drop some more knowledge with your August Rap Flashback. For my partners, Professor and Spaceman, I am Scholar, signing off. May the line be with you.